Welcome back to the 4077 M.A.S.H. And this is season 5 and season 6 we're going to talk about. So for our first part of season 5, there's Hawkeye and BJ, and there's some of the rest of the gang. So continuing on our story of the M.A.S.H. Bug Out, this episode is called. With the Chinese closing in, the 407 receives an order to bug out, and the set, got it, just a minute, sets up a camp in a new location, which is unfortunately being occupied by tenants. So what they do, they find this other place because they have to move from there where they have to was because of the Chinese, and these people are occupying, and in the end after Radar loses all his dresses and that. Now for our next one is Margaret's engaged. It's a hard day for Frank after the Jubilee and Radius. Margaret returns from the medical conference in Tokyo, engaged to Lieutenant Colonel Donald I can't pronounce his name. So Frank's not too pleased about that. So for our next one is Out of Sight, Out of Mind. While Frank bent on the outcome of the baseball game, he's already heard on the radio, and the outcome isn't as he certain for Hawkeye after a near-store explosion in his face. So it sounds like Frank is trying to do dodgy dealings in this again. So for our next one, Lieutenant Radar O'Reilly. When Radar beats Master Sergeant Woodruff in a poker game, he winnings including a promotion to second lieutenant. A payoff soon wants to he soon wants to just cash in. So what he gets, because he can't get the money, this person gives him a second lieutenant. But in the end, it doesn't work out because this girl he fancies doesn't want to know him because he's got rank and that. So for our next one, nurses. Hawkeye and BJ come to a young nurse's rescue after Margaret, angry confused her of the time just as her husband arrives in the camp on the overnight pass. So it sounds like Margaret's up to her old tricks of throwing her weight around and showing off to Donald and that. Now, the next one is a bit of Margaret's honeymoon. While Margaret is delivering a baby in a nearby village, Frank has the camp in uproar, convinced that Margaret is set by a group of North Koreans. So while Margaret's helping, as I read, delivering, Frank thinks he's been kidnapped by the North Koreans, so that's causing uproar. So for our next one is Dear Sigmund. Sigmund Freud MD arrives at the 4077 to observe how the doctors deal with the pressure of war, and ends up putting his thoughts down in a letter to Sigmund Freeman. So he's analysing all, because he's a string, and he's analysing all the people in the camp. So our next one is Murphy War. Father McKaylee sneaks a ride to a aid station at the front line so that he can get better understanding what the wounded soldiers come into the 4077 having gone through. So McKaylee wants to know what's it like at the front, and he goes off. And for the next one, a Korean soldier, BJ and Onikov, are delighted to have a new doctor in the camp, but there's just one problem. He's a North Korean, and Hans detonate the enemy. So he's pretending to be a South Korean doctor and that, and Hawkeye and BJ want him to stay, but I think Frank finds out and everything goes pear-shaped. Hawkeye gets your gun. Hawkeye and Potter and Hawkeye go to a local hospital to help with the casualty. Some think they are in danger of becoming when Hawkeye refused to use a gun after they ambushed. So Hawkeye, he doesn't like guns, and Potter tells him to shoot the gun. So he says, he goes to the gun, I shot the gun. So that's another one of their exploits. I can't pronounce this one. A local priest is called into the camp to explode an evil spirit. Exorcist, I think when a mystery thing begins to go wrong after the colonel has radar removed the Korean spirit post. So what happens? Potter gets radar to move the spirit post, and all hell, everything goes wrong, problems, explosions. So they have to call in this priestess to get rid of this, all the demons. So Hawkeye's nightmare. Dr. Freeman is called back to the 407 after the getting of Hawkeye, and he begins sleep talking and having scream falls night. Because what happens, Hawkeye gets up in the middle of the night and he pretends he's playing basketball, and they get what's his name, Dr. Freeman, in to try and analyse him and find out what the problem is. And what it comes down, that he saw someone get drowned when he was young. So for the next one, most unforgettable chapter. While Radar enrolls into a writing school, Hawkeye and PJ decide to make Frank happy on his birthday by presenting to be fighting with each other. So they are pretending to be against each other, fighting just to make Frank Burns happy. But in the end, Radar makes them not stop it. Now for our next one, the 38 crossing. Hawkeye can never finish the crossword, so when he needs only one word to solve the puzzle, he contacts a friend who flies into the camp believing that there's a medical emergency. So what he does, he gets onto his friend who's on a ship, and all he wants him is to help solve this crossword puzzle, but it all goes slightly pear-shaped. So for our next one, it's ping pong. Potter steps up in when a Lieutenant Colonel Colonel's jealousy, living of his men in his personal quest to get his comeback infant badge and to provide a full colonel. I don't know if this is like a game and that. Oh, and our next one is End Road. It's Radar to the rescue after a young sergeant and an all-American football player has his leg amputated and decides life is not worth living. So he can't, because he loses his leg, he thinks it's the end of the world. Next one is Hunky Plank. I think that's pronounced. BJ explodes feelings of guilt after spending a night consulting a distant nurse who receives a Dear John letter from her husband back home. So things get a bit, awkward with BJ and he's guilty. Next one is Herpes. The camp is plunged into a phase when it is discovered that Father O'Callaghan has come down with an unexpected infection of hepatitis. So the camp's all up in arms and that. So next is General Patton. I don't know if that's right. Much to his horror, Hawkeye is recalled to be a personal psychiatrist for a general something, why Radar becomes a substitute father to a Korean woman and a baby. So this general wants Hawkeye to be his personal physician, but it all goes, terribly wrong, and Radar gets caught up with this woman and the baby. Movie night. The next one is to keep up morale. Colonel Potter decides to treat the doctors and nurses to a special movie night, but unfortunately, the fragile seal isn't up to the task. I don't know if this is the one where they swap a movie. They get this movie what's been banned and they swap it, and in the end they get the wrong movie and that. So the next one is Souvenir. Hawkeye and BJ decide to put a still deal out of business after they discover that the war souvenirs he has children finding for him are often trapped in M&A. So what it is, this souvenir onto is getting the kids to go in the mine fields and collecting the metal and that, and Hawkeye and BJ decide that it's not right. So for the next one, it's post off. A task law of a Turkish soldier arrives just as the doctors of the 4077 run out of one thing they disturbingly need to order to save the distance of the income patient's blood. I'm not sure about this one. So, for a final one of this season, Margaret's marriage. Margaret's fiance arrives in the camp to tie the knot, but after he gets a little drunk in his bachelor party, Hawkeye and BJ decides they need to get him really plastered. So what they do, they plaster his legs, and he gets drunk, and it all goes terrible. And that's the end of season 5. So we're on to season 6. And there's a picture. And this is our next new Doctor. So, for the start of this, find out. A disgruntled Frank searches Tokyo for Margaret and her husband, a discarded act that gets him sent stateside and gets Major Charles Emerson Winchester Farr the Third sent to the 407. So what goes on is Frank is causing so much mayhem in Tokyo, and instead of getting in prison, he gets discharged and sent back. So at the time, Major Charles Emerson III is at playing cards with this colonel, and he's beating him all the time. So how this colonel gets his own back on him, he gets him transferred to the 4077. Next one is Fallen Idiot. After Hawkeye convinced Radar to go to Seoul for a little R&R, he feels so guilty when Radar returns as a casualty that he gets too drunk to finish Radar's emergency operation. So what it is, Hawkeye is guilty because Radar is injured, and he walks out the operation on Radar, but in the end Radar sorts out a go at him and pulls him round. So for our next one, Last Laugh. Colonel Potter is shocked when he receives word that a Brigadier Marston officer is sent, and a colonel to a 4077 to investigate whether BJ is really a doctor or just an imposter. So this is some joke played on BJ, what goes terribly wrong. Next one is War of Nerves. Psycho Dr. Sigmund Freud returns to the 407, but this time he's a patient who finds himself pinned up in a foxhole with a soldier he convinced continues to be sent back into action. What it is, this soldier don't want to go back to the front line, and Sigmund Freud is trying to help him. For our next one is Winchester's tapes. So, deciding to get away from Hawkeye, BJ and Hawkeye, Winchester types a letter to his influential parents back home, begging them to pull a full strings and get him shipside. So he's trying to, because he's not there very happy with it, and he wants to get back home. Next one is the lights that fail. When the 4077 run out of the light bulb, BJ passes around his latest murder mystery for all to read by candlelight. For while Charles makes a mistake during surgery in a darkened so this mystery gets passed around story in the light, so that's another fun bit of fun. Next is Love and War. Hawkeye retrieved for a rated career woman who asks Colonel Potter to send a doctor over her home. Changes when he realizes actually cares for the homeless. It sends this woman, and I think Hawkeye falls in love with this woman. So for the next one, Change Day. Winchester sneaks plans to cash in on big on Chicago Day, run into a few roadblocks after BJ and Hawkeye gets wind of his scheme. So what it is, the change in the strip, the money. So Winchester decides that he's doing a bit of con deal so he can make money. So what happens? BJ and Hawkeye sets him off and stops his little scheme. So for the next one, imagine while Radar goes off in search of a perfect tattoo and conforms between hot lips and one of the nurses, leading a great understanding on both these pairs. So Radar wants to get a tattoo, but they're trying to convince him not to go to a local tattoo artist, what is dodgy. So in the end, he gets this fantasy, this funny. Next is the M.A.S.H Olympics. Inspired by the 1952 Olympic Games taking place in Colonel Potter decides the best way to get all these troops into the spirit to hold their own M.A.S.H Olympics. So at the time, Margaret's husband comes, and he gets roped in to the Olympics, and it all goes pear-shaped as usual. Now, for our next one, Grim Wrath, I think. Hawkeye has a run-in with a Colonel Victor Bloodworth, a hard-backled colonel who thinks of men under his command has mean state. So this sounds like this colonel's sending the troops to fight against battles that are not worth, not a good idea. So for our next one, Command in Arms, Part 1. Hawkeye and Margaret find themselves stranded behind enemy lines after they drive over to the 8064 M.A.S.H unit, only to find a whole unit has bogged out. So that's the first part. The second part of Command in Arms, Part 2, after taking refuge in an abandoned hut, Hawkeye and Margaret drink some Japanese sake, discovering and Margaret's husband's problems, and end up sneakily sewn in the arms of each other. So, and they get saved and that. The next one is the method of career. When BJ needs a quick $200, he borrows it from a well-intent in the swamp, totally unaware how much Winchester would take advantage of the debt he owns. So Winchester, charges BJ so much, one of his schemes, but it goes all wrong. The smell of music, fed off with Frank's French horn playing, Hawkeye and BJ give him an honorary ultimatum, give up his playing or shape the tent with the two doctors who refused to take a shower. Oh, what it is, they want him to stop playing this music, so they decide that they won't shower. So in the end, the whole of the camp decides that they've soak Hawkeye and BJ, and they break Winchester's record player. Patience 4077 is the next one. Further, that the army can make a gun that can level a village from 50 miles away, yet can make your teenage toy soldiers camp. BJ and Only Top turn to a local jury. I'm not sure about that one. So for our next one, T with the empath. Father McKaylee finds himself in a reluctant predicament after he records the confession of a company in stealing medical supplies which the 4077 destiny needs. So he snitches to stop him. So for our next one, your hit parade. Hit by a disline of patients and clear out of type AB negative blood. Hawkeye and BJ is forced to turn to an own complete donor. And very drunk bomber displays on R&R. So this is another one of their little tricks. What's up, Doc? Problems arrive with Margaret. Thinks she's pregnant and wants the pregnancy test done. And the only rabbit available for test is Radar's pet rabbit, Fluffy. So they're trying to do a pregnancy test, but not letting anybody do it. But Radar's not very happy. For our next one is Mail Call. Mail Call 3. After 3 weeks of no mail delivered, 5 sacks of mail arrive, full of good news and bad news, and a stock of love letters materialise for another B.J. Honeycutt, Benjamin Pierce, but opened by this one away. So there's another chap called B.J. Pierce, that's Hawkeye. And Hawkeye gets all his love letters and that. And in the end, the person who letters comes and collects them. Next one, it's temporary duty. When the surgeon's temporary at the 407 threatens to turn patients, B.J. and Honeycutt join forces in order to get rid of this obscene new roommate and to get Hawkeye back. Oh, what it is, there's a trade-off, a temporary trade-off and that. So they've got B.J. and Charles want to get rid of this roommate and get Hawkeye back. Oh, excuse me. Now for the next one, Potter's retirement. Colonel Potter retires when he's called to Seoul by General Winkent and told that the troops back at the 4077 are complaining about his leadership. So a certain person is sending poison letters to this general about Sherman, and in the end Hawkeye and BJ finds out who it is and gets things sorted out. So for our next one, Dr. Winchester and Mr. Hyde. Charles undergoes a sudden personality change after taking some tablets in an effect to keep up his energy during the longer operations in the OR. So what it is Charles is taking these drugs what are keeping him going and that, and they're trying to stop him and that, and in the end they get rid of the drugs and that. Major Tuttle, while the doctors try to convince the wounded that pain salt pills are really morphine. Colonel Boot Mills is convinced he's shot down a plane that is there. Oh, this guy is on duty and he's pretending to shoot planes and that, and he's a bit wacko. So he gets discharged, and at the same time they run out of these drugs and morphine. So they're giving the patients pet pills, plain sugar pills, to convince them that they are having the morphine. And this is the end of season 6, and this is the end of my part of M.A.S.H, and our next instalment of the season. And I hope you enjoy this next 5 and 6 of this season of M.A.S.H, and I will continue with the next one next time. And if you enjoy these little stories and my going through the history of M.A.S.H, the 4077 M.A.S.H, please stay tuned for more, and I'll say goodbye for now.